Here it is. I want us to realize, okay, very important points that I'm saying this all the time, and people, I think, need to understand. Point number one, the beginning of the Bible is not only for the Hebrew nation. The Hebrew nation wasn't yet alive, okay? The Hebrew nation is coming to the Bible only in chapter 9, 10, it's mentioned, okay? And then in the beginning or the end of chapter 11, we see Abraham, okay? That was of the destinies of the Hebrew people. We almost know nothing about him, and people don't know, but our sages are bringing it from all sorts of points that are also hinted in the Bible. The Hebrew nation was being demolished and being put under the chambers in the era of Abraham. Okay, and only a third of the people managed to be rescued and to be alive. And we see something similar in the modern history 80 years ago with the Nazis, with the chambers, everything else. The third of the Hebrew nation was being killed systematically in the chambers, okay, through the Nazis era. And if we don't have the Hebrew nation in the first 11 chapters, the meaning of this is that the first 11 chapters are speaking to all humanity, not only for the Hebrew people. I remember when I went and I gave a seminar in South Africa, and there was a very interesting former bishop, okay, that invited me. He wanted that Brit Olam will come and give a seminar. He was on the top of the roof of the world, okay? He was flying all over Africa. He gave lessons on the TV for millions of people, really, okay? And he was flying also as the candidate and as a person that was, the messenger of the African community um, to Europe, to the United States. Really, he was on the top, on the roof of the world. And he realized that a lot of things were with a lot of lies there. And he started to ask questions, and they said to him, if you're asking too many questions, you don't believe enough. So he asked more questions. And at the end, he decided to leave Christianity and to move to become an Noahide. And he invited us, and I was there. And I remember that one of the most important things that he mentioned a few times since the first lesson that I gave there, that let's listen to the Hebrew nation. It's the only old script that is starting not from their nation, but from the world. Adam and Eve, God created the world. Adam and Eve is the father and mother for all humanity, for me, for you, for everyone who's sitting here, for never mind if he's, regardless if he's from Europe, from the United States, from South Korea, or from Israel. And this is the first point that we need to understand. The second point is that the first three chapters are speaking about a situation that we don't really understand. And let me explain this, okay? I will go to chapter 2 and 3 that are speaking about the Garden of Eden. We have here, a doctor, okay, inside with a lot of illnesses and everything else. Did we really saw someone that came to us from Eden, from the Garden of Eden? What we see in the last 50 years because of the medicine and the progress of the medicine and everything else, that people are dying for a few minutes and coming back and saying about a cave, about, they saw a big light, they saw from upstairs, from the room, they saw everything that's happening in the room. That's it. No one really came back from the Garden of Eden. And the chapter 2 and chapter 3 are speaking about the Garden of Eden. So, of course, it's not something that we can really understand. In a moment, I will remind us, okay, that to understand those chapters, we need to listen to the mindset, to the people, okay, that had the mindset of writing it And those are the prophets. And they are receiving, I will say, the knowledge from a different way of receiving knowledge, not like us, only through the um, imagination or brain, okay, mind, or through the senses, okay? There's another way of accepting or receiving knowledge. So we need to listen to those who wrote this knowledge, not to try to understand it from our good sake of we understand everything. No, we don't. We don't. We're not in the era of prophecy today. We're not in this era. We don't have prophecy for the last 2,400 years. So let's listen to those who are preserving this, I will say, mindset, knowledge, the sages of the Hebrew nation. And if we're going to the first chapter, this is even more harder. You know why? Because until the sixth day, we don't have any person in this world. Okay? So how can we understand exactly the first day, the second day, the third day, what's happening there? It's all symbolic for us, you know. Person wasn't there. Okay, the first straight ahead question that we have, for example, is that we have the light in the first day, but we have the luminaries in the fourth day. I don't understand. The light is already from the first day. What exactly is the difference between this light and the other light? We need, with a bit of common sense, we're starting to have questions and we don't understand. And the way to realize or to understand those things is not by us saying we have knowledgeable, mind and we know everything. No, we don't know. Those who wrote those texts, those who gave us, who passed us those texts, gave them in the era of prophecy different way of mindset, different, I will say, dimension of mindset. I will give an example in a moment. So we have, the first text is speaking to the whole humanity, but the first three chapters, we have boundaries. It's hard for us to understand if we're not receiving or understanding or accepting also those who, or the mindset of those who wrote those messages for us to understand them. And I'm giving another very important boundary. The Torah was written in the Hebrew language. And unfortunately, most of us, we don't know the Hebrew language. And I will tell you a secret. Also, me, who grew up, okay, with this Hebrew language, the Hebrew language of today is not 100% aligned with the Hebrew language of the prophecy era because of the 2,000 years that we spent inside the diaspora. So we received a lot of, I will say, points of explanations and mindsets that are not, I will say, pure Hebrew mindset of prophecy. This is why we need to speak or to listen or to learn from the prophets because they gave us this script, they gave us those ideas, and they also gave us, I will say, the key to understand exactly their meaning. Okay? So I'm teaching those things. By the way, the Hebrew nation, it's being written down that you're not allowed to teach or to speak the real secrets of the creation era. That is being written down in the creation, in the first chapter. We are teaching things, and some of them are, I will say, very close to already, the door of the Kabbalah side. Believe me, what I'm teaching is things that we can learn here, okay? But, and those are very important things. But again, we need to understand the Kabbalah, by the way, is the continuous of the mindset of the prophets, okay? And if someone is saying to you on the internet that he is teaching Kabbalah, run away. He's lying. It's not working like that. The Kabbalah is being taught one-to-one person, usually between 2 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay. and those are secrets that are not being spread over to everyone. And all this Kabbalah thing that happened in the last 40 years with Madonna and others, I'm sure that you heard about this. It's all fake. It's not fake. It's not the real thing. Okay, a lot of ideas, but not the real thing. But we are learning things that are okay on the ground, and they can teach us. Another thing that I can explain that will bring us and give us the understanding. Okay, the first chapter basically speaks about God creating the world, and the messages that we can receive from this first chapter are messages that are related between me and myself. Most of the messages are on this, I will say, on this sphere, okay, between me and myself. And as more that we're diving inside, we're starting to realize that, okay, that here God created the world, and what is the reflection on me about this creation of the world. The second and the third chapter that are speaking about the Garden of Eden is mainly discussing the ideas between men and God. Also think for a moment about I will say, the main story. What is the main story there? God created the Garden of Eden. He implemented the Adam and Eve, right? He obeyed them to do this and not to do that. And they passed his laws, and behaved differently. So the main issue is between God and the human being. Okay, those are chapter 2 and 3. Chapter 4 onwards, all the continuous of the story, okay, or the continuous of history, not the story, history, okay, that is being described there, is between men and his fellow men. It's opening in chapter 4 between Cain and Abel, the second generation. Unfortunately, we see there that Cain and Abel had such a big fight that someone there passed away. Okay, but since then, or from there till, I will say, the end of history, it stays with the relation between man and his fellow man. Okay, and here we also have already, I will say, some sort of a structure of the first chapter of the Bible that is related with us, and we also understand, I will say, the boundaries of understanding this script. And if, for example, I'm giving an example, okay? Those are things that we're going to dive inside. Secondly, okay, we go to the Christian concept, and we understand how they explain the sin of Adam and Eve. And we all know, I'm not going inside too much to all of the details, but they're putting on the girl side, on the lady side, Hannah, it's you, all the blame until today, okay? And the outcome of this is that the masters, I will say, the priest, the main side of the Christian history of those who are teaching the ideas, the ideology, the mindset, the concept, the principles of the Christian side, they will stay without building up a family. In the United States, already the Protestant is raising up. No, it's different. But it's because they went away, far away from the hardcore in Rome, and then also in England, okay? It's overseas, the other side. So they're starting to live a bit differently. But mainly, this is how they learn those scripts, and because of that, this is how they're behaving. Usually, I'm not saying, of course, there are differences, but mainly, you won't see a pope, okay, that have a family. It's not happening, okay? Again, It could be that, in some sort of a small town somewhere, he's also having, I don't know, okay? Or that what happened in the last 30 years, that a lot of really hard things went out with all the issues of the sexual side of things that happened. Never mind. And with a lot of bravery, okay, I will say that the last two popes managed to raise those issues up and to demolish people that behaved in a very unreasonable way. I will call it like that. But if you will go to the Hebrew nation, you won't find a rabbi that is not married. They're reading it differently. They're reading it and they're learning and they living it differently in this world. Again, you will find rabbis that are not married. I won't go inside to all of the issue. Rabbi Tuvia Zinger, you all know him, okay? In all sorts of reasons. And I won't go inside to the personal side. I know it, we spoke it, we have a good connection, good relation, whatever it is. But in his personal, I will say, a very unique issue, okay? In his personal way of life, he was married, he have kids, and he got divorced. I'm not going inside to this. And because of all sorts of reasons, he is not married in the last 25 years. But he is a very, I will say, unique and not one of the simple thing. Go to the almost every other rabbi that you know. We are married and we have kids, thank God, and we have grandkids, thank God, and we are working and we are, this is the way of life. If you want to be, I will say, a rabbi that is taking also a role as a rabbi, okay, to lead a community or to lead, I will say, school or to lead, as this thing. If you're not married, people are usually saying to you, "Thank you very much, continue on with your life, and then we will speak with you again." Usually, okay. The meaning of this that those two, I will say, it's hard for me to say the word religion, okay? The Hebrew religion, but it's not religion. The Hebrew nation is reading differently the second and the third part chapters of Genesis than the Christian religion. They're reading it in one way. So being connected with a woman, it's part of a sin. We're reading it differently, and the woman wasn't the problem there at all. At all. And I think that I said more than once that if you go inside closely to the text, you know what, I will show this to you. You will see that the woman wasn't kicked out from Eden. Only man was. I will show you. You want to see this? It's very simple. I will show you. You will read it with me and you'll say, we never thought about this. And you will see how I will say, the scholars, okay, of the other world, not the Hebrew people, put this aside a bit. But we'll read it now and you'll say, interesting. It is true. And then you will ask me, so how come the women is here in this world? Because we need to say thank you, Hanan, to all of the women in this world, because they understand that we won't be able, the men's side, to live here without them. So they did us a favor. Let's read it inside. I will surprise you. Let's read it inside. Let me do a share of the screen. Just a moment. Let me share the screen so we don't this. Here it is. So let's go to the where is it? Things changed here. Let me see. Oh, here it is. Let's go to the end of chapter 3. Okay. And now this. And let's read it for a moment. You will see, I'm not inventing anything. We have here verses that God is, I will say, punishing. Okay. He's punishing the serpent in verse 14, 15. And then he's punishing the woman. And then he will punish the man. So the serpent, okay, And the God Lord said to the serpent, because you did it, fair enough. And then to the woman, he said, I shall surely increase your sorrow and your pregnancy, fair enough. Let's see what happened to the men, or what God said to the men. And to the men he said, because you listen to your wife, and this is what everybody is saying. You see, the wife was the problem. Again, we're not learning it now, but look what's happening here. Because you listen to your wife, and you ate from the tree from which I commanded who? I commanded who?
Yeah.
You shall not eat from it, of it. The woman wasn't commanded not to eat from it. Okay? This is already they're not speaking about. In a moment you will see, you will be shocked. Curse the ground for your sake, but you know why? Because until then, okay, God, the earth doesn't have any more freedom of choice. Okay, I'm answering you the question that you sent me about. Okay, you with me? Men, now only men have freedom of choice. In a small, slight way, also earth have with the Hebrew nation in the old time. Okay, but now it's a time that God is also a bit punishing the earth for the things that she did in the third day. Okay, so I'm going also to curse the ground. You with the soil that you will eat of it all the days of your life, and it will curse turns thistles to grow for you and all those things. Okay, and it will be with a lot of sweat of your face. You shall eat bread until you return to the ground from where you were taken. Okay. Now go with me. Continue, son. God is now in the last 3 verses. He have a problem. And now the Lord said, to whom? To himself. Behold, man has become like one of us, having the ability of knowing good and evil, because he ate from the tree of good and bad. And now, lest he stretch forth his hand, and take also from the tree of life, and eat and live forever. What is the problem? God doesn't have a problem that we will live forever, but he will live forever with a sin. And I want him to have the possibility of doing repentance. So what I'm going to do, and the Lord God sent him, who? Who did he send?
Adam.
Men. Out of the Garden of Eden. How do I know that he only sent men? To till the soil whence he had been taken. If he was also sending the woman, so it was supposed to continue and say what? And that the woman will also have problems, or it will be hard for her to give birth, right? But it's not saying it. So who was being thrown out from here? Only men. Right? It's written down. I'm not inventing anything. He did a sin. He's being thrown out. She wasn't part of the sin. We need to learn it. We need to understand. And they're doing us a favor. And then also he's putting there, some sort of a guard, so nobody will come back, to guard the way of the tree of the life. Fair enough. I know that you never read it in this way, but this is what's written down in Hebrew. By the way, it's even more clear and more exact and more hard, I will say, to twist it. Basically, what we need to understand when we are learning those chapters, it's not enough to try to listen or to invent from our reason or from our mind how we understand this story. We need to listen to those who gave us those words in the era of prophecy, or if we don't have today prophecy, so those who are preserving prophecy ideas to understand what the meaning of those words for us today, and not to invent things from our mind to say we understand. In principle, there's a very important principle also that I must mention here. In principle, we also need to know that if we don't understand something in the Bible, in the Torah, so the meaning of this is that we have a lack of understanding, and we need to do much more to work and much more emphasize of wishing, willing, praying to God and everything else to start to understand and to realize what is the message for us. It's not because the Torah is not understandable. It's because we not yet on the stage. And one of the things that's happening in the Hebrew tradition is that every year we are reading those texts again, and every year we're learning new things inside, even though we know them, and we've heard them, and we taught them, and whatever it is, okay? Even if you will go to that, you'll do research, okay, about the lessons that I gave on those chapters 7 years ago with Dan and with others, and what I'm giving today, you will see on the basic, very same guidelines, but you will see also a lot of new things that with the years and with the searching, with the learning, and with the help of God, we've grew up more. So now we're starting to realize everything. Questions still now, and if not, we will dive inside to more things. Please, feel comfortable. If you have any questions, everything was clear.
Could you tell me a little bit more about the Adam has free willing than the woman, Eve? That part?
No,
Did
I didn't say
I?
that.
Oh, okay. So what was that? I didn't understand clearly. Yeah.
Okay. What I said is that, first of all, every man and woman in this world have the same free will, regardless if he is a white person, red skin person, black skin person, man, woman, he is a slave, he is a freedom, whatever it is. Every person in this world have the image of God, and the meaning of the word image of God is the freedom of choice. And if you will ask yourself, as a scientist, okay, person, you will ask, and it's a good question, okay, from where exactly are we receiving this ability of freedom of choice? Because when I'm eating the chips that came from the potato, they have the amino 3, parts, but the potato have no freedom of choice. If I'm putting the seed of the potato inside the ground, it will become a potato. It won't become, cucumber. It won't become anything else. So it doesn't have any freedom of choice. And everything that we eat and is building up our body is something that doesn't have freedom of choice. So for where do we have freedom of choice? This is something that we're getting from the outside, from somewhere else. Just a moment, I need to answer that. שבתאי, שלום וברכה. אני לא שלחתי לך לינק, אני באמצע הפגישה ולהערכתי היא לא תסתיים בזמן ואני לא אצליח לעשות היום את הפגישה ב3, אז אני אתקשר לך יותר מאוחר ונתאם זמן אחר. בסדר? אני מתנצל. כן, נדבר, אני פשוט באמצע פה הפגישה. 100%, להתראות, תודה. ביי. So, we need to realize that this part of freedom of choice is coming from what is being written down in chapter 2. Okay, if I'm jumping from 1 to chapter 2, it's written down from this verse that in chapter 2:7, and the Lord God formed man of dust from the ground. We just saw that this is part of the punishment, okay, the death, okay, and he breathed into his nostrils the soul of life, and man became living soul. What is the meaning of this? The best way to explain this, freedom of choice that we have. Okay? And look, I'm going to show this it's one of the most essential verses in the Bible. And again, it's not being written down when the Hebrew nation was created. It's written down in the beginning of everything. It's all of us, okay? When I'm flying to Italy, I flew to Australia 30 years ago, okay? And one of the times I passed through the airport in Seoul, and another time I passed through another airport or something. And I remember my eyes was opening when we landed, and I saw the amount of airplanes and the amount of people on the airport. You know, like like the mouse that came from the small town and suddenly saw the big town. As an Israeli, suddenly I saw, in London Heathrow, I saw thousands of people running, going, and I said to myself, each one of them have this spark, living soul. Okay, you have the freedom of choice. And then I saw it again in the East, and then I saw it again in Australia, and I said to myself, wow, how many people? Look for a moment what Rashi is saying about this, okay, this verse. It's very important verse. Um, he's saying, a living soul, cattle and beasts were also called living soul in chapter 1. Okay, chapter 1, day 5th, the cattle and beasts were also called living soul. But this one of man is the most living of them all because he was additionally given intelligence and speech. Let me ask you, what is the meaning of the word speech? I can decide when I'm adjusting things how to define them outside, and according to this, how to behave. This is speech. So we have the intelligence more than the animals and the beasts, and we also have the speech, the possibility of defining things. What are we doing in the universities? We're defining the science, and according to this, we're doing good things to the world, hopefully, okay? We're also doing the atomic bomb, so I don't know, everything is good, okay? But we are defining things. We are deciding how to call each thing speech, okay? In Hebrew, also, the word speech is also what is my will to take out, okay? We need to know that. And this is for everyone. What I said, and it's related a bit to the lesson that I gave on Sunday, that we see in chapter 1, before man was here, that the earth also had some sort of freedom of choice and ability to do things against the will of God. Now, if you will think very, I will say, closely and profound, you will realize that the freedom of choice is also to behave against God. I can decide that I don't believe in God and do things against His will. We know about people that are killing others. It's against the will of God. We know that people are doing this. You have today, in those days, okay, we have millions of people gathering together inside the Persian area there in Iran and screaming and shouting, death to all America, death to all of Jewish people, to the Israeli people. And God with his, I will say, mercy, still giving them life. We need to understand this, okay? Those are things that we need, those are heavy issues that we need to learn them. But we need to know that this is the situation. Now, in the first chapter, when we don't have men here, we can see that the earth also have the possibility, okay, of freedom of choice. Let me jump for a moment. I will show this to you, okay? So it won't be, and this is what we spoke on Sunday, and Bart sent me a question, so I answered him, and this is what you heard. Not the women. The women have freedom of choice like men, and the men have freedom of choice like women. By the way, the woman also decided to be very nice with us and to go out from Garden of Eden. So it's a bit one step ahead, freedom of choice. But if we will go for a moment in day 3, okay? What is the wish of God, or what God said? When we're saying said, it's he basically wished that this will happen, okay? And he obeyed earth to let the earth sprout out vegetations, seed yielding herbs, and fruit trees, just about fruit trees, right? Producing fruit. So we have two kinds of fruit here, right? Not only that I can eat the apple, but I can also eat what? The tree of the apple will have the same taste of the apple. Written down on that, right? What happened? And the earth gave forth vegetations. We don't have many yet. Seed yielding herbs according to its kind, and trees producing fruit. But the trees themselves, it's not with the taste of fruit. So here, the earth and the word earth, in Hebrew, it's the same word. Eretz, earth, it's the same word. It's coming from the word will, ratzon. Okay, it's the same word. The earth had, before man came here, some sort of free will. And it even didn't obey to God. And now we'll read Rashi again. Okay, let's read Rashi again, what he's saying. It's not here, it's in chapter 3. Maybe, yes, I think it's in chapter 3. Just a moment, let's see if it's here. I'm not sure. In a moment, I will show you another thing very important for this. No, it's in chapter 3. Just a moment. Let me jump to the verses that we read in chapter 3. We have here at the end, when God is you see, and it will, just a moment, it's not here. They're not bringing it here. They're not bringing it here. Okay, Rashi is saying, maybe it's still in chapter 1. Just a moment. Sorry. Oh, here it is. Fruit trees, you see, fruit trees, that the taste of the tree should be like the taste of the fruits. Okay? And the earth, you see here, the earth did not do so. However, but the earth gave forth trees producing fruits, but the trees themselves were not fruits. Therefore, when man was cursed because of his iniquity, the earth too was punished for its iniquity. Here, okay. This is what we said. This is what we mentioned. Let me show you something that it will be clear that how much it's not clear that God is continuing the laws of nature, even though people are doing things against him. Okay? Just a moment. I'll find it. Here it is. Let's go to King 1:13:4. King 1:13:4. Let me show you something. Let's go to King 1:14. Okay. No, it's not here. 13. Sorry. One before. We have here a story. It's in Kings. Okay. That a prophet came from Judah Okay, man of God came from Judah, prophet. While we see in Bethel that Jeroboam wanted to sacrifice on the altar to give offering, okay? And because it was a sin, he was supposed to do it in Jerusalem, not him, only the priest. So the prophet is saying, he called in prophecy about the altar, you see, at the command of the Lord. And he said that the altar is going, behold, a son will be born in the house of David, Joshua, his name, and upon he will slaughter all the priests of the high places who offer sacrifice on you, and human bones will they burn upon you. So he's saying basically this altar is a sin, and everybody here is going to be slaughtered. And this was a prophecy that he said, okay? And he also gave some sort of a, I will say, sign that it's happening. And then when the king heard those words of the words of the man of God, which he proclaimed concerning the altar of the Bethel, okay, and that everything will happen. So he said, the king said, seize him, okay, catch him. And what happened? And his hand, this is the most important part, and his hand that he had stretched out against this prophet became stiff, and he could not draw his hand back to himself. Basically, when someone is doing a sin, this is what's supposed to happen. You did a sin, I'm not giving you anymore the possibility, the battery for living. Right? And what's happening, this is a very unique occasion, I will say, that happened once in history. In a moment, I will show you what happened, what is continuing, okay? Once in history, to that we will all understand what exactly is the meaning of real freedom of choice. I can even use it as a rebellion against God. And the king is suddenly responded and said to the man of God, entreat now the Lord your God and pray for me that my hand be drawn back to me. Okay? And the man of God entered the Lord, and the king's hand was drawn back to him, and it was as before. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But this is the real understanding of meaning of choice. Now, with your permission, I will say another very important sentence, okay? We can close the share. In the world of the non-believers, you with me? Again, in the world of the non-believers, the people who believe in God, they are insane. And if we will give them the possibility to lead history and to be part of the, I will say, the political side, we're putting the history side of the world to an insane situation because they're not thinking rational. On the other side, in the word of the believer, let's jump now to the other side. The non-believers are part of the world because it's teaching us that there is really meaning to this world and to the understanding of freedom of choice. You're starting to see that we have here in this world two different kinds of people. Those who believe, and for them also those who don't believe, it's with, I will say some sort of worthwhile. I will say it like that. Okay? עוד רבע שעה נמצאים בשיעור. Like some sort of worthwhile. Okay? Giving also value to the world of my belief. Without this, I would have said always that everybody believes in God because there is no other choice. No. There is a choice. And I'm deciding to believe in God. So it's giving me also, suddenly fulfillment and meaning in life. But for the world of the secular, those who don't believe in God, For them, all of us are insane. And now you're starting to understand the big fight in this world, okay, between the progress and the lefty side against the, I will say, those who believe in God on the right side in large. Okay, I'm not speaking about specifically those who believe in God in the right side of the world, who are trying to continue something that happened before. And all of this is coming because in the last 24 centuries, God didn't spoke with us, I will say, clearly with the prophecy. Because in the world of prophecy, we don't see so much these, I will say, non-believers. There are other issues that are raising up, okay? The issue of worshiping other gods, okay? Idolatry. By the way, in the prophets of Israel, in the Bible of Israel, in the Bible, what is called the Old Testament, but it's the wrong way, you will never see that the prophets asked from non-Jewish not to do idolatry. I won't go inside to this issue. It's a big issue, but this is not one of the things that the prophets ever said. Today, we are saying this part of the seven laws. It's true. They also said it's part of the seven laws, okay? They didn't accept someone that is worshiping idolatry, and when he came to the Temple Mount and wanted to give sacrifice, and he said that this sacrifice is for his idolatry. Fair enough, thank you, go away. But if someone, I can show this also in Kings, if someone came and said, I believe in idolatry, but here I want to give also sacrifice to God, welcome. Okay, so in the world that God's presence is much higher, the issue of idolatry is very hard, or is very coming outside. It's much harder than to be secular, what we call. But those are, now we're starting to see the world in much more clear, I will say, way. Questions? Are there any
I
questions?
have
Yes, please.
question. It's like the different topic. In the Korea, we ceremony to that person on the tomb, like the personality and official ceremony. So isn't it problem to the God?
I'm not 100% sure that I understood exactly your question. Well, you want maybe say it in your language, and people will translate
Uh,
this to me in English. I think I didn't understood it well enough.
I speak to Korea. 그러니까 죽은 사람 이제한테 묵념이나 이제 그런 걸 하잖아요. 호국 영신인가? 이제 국가 이제 행사나 개인적으로 이제 이거가 죽은 자에게 이제 기념하는 거지만 저희는 어떻게 보면 죽은 사람을 신으로도 이제 믿기 때문에 이거가 좀 잘못된 건지 아니면 그걸 계속 해도 되는 건지 이제 질문입니다.
So it is about in Korea we bow the dead persons. Sometimes it could be the ancestors or the national heroes like that. So he's asking if it is allowed to the Nohai to do or idolatry or not.
You need to tell me if this vow is something of honor or if it's something that is related with worshiping those people. If it's related, and it's not a question about you specifically, in a moment I will say also something about you specifically, but if in principle it's related by idolatering them, okay, just like I will give an example. Let me give an example. Okay, let me share again the screen and give an example for that. When Jacob is dying, so he came to chapter before that, he came to Joseph, that was a king in Egypt, and said to him, don't bury me in Egypt. Why? So the Rashi is explaining that he was afraid Okay. And you shall deal with me with living kindness and truth. Do not bury me now in Egypt. And the reason is very simple. Because if I will be buried in Egypt, they will do me idolatry. Later on in history, you saw that they're taking a Jewish died person and doing it idolatry, okay, in the West world. So it's a question that you need to ask yourself. If the bow is coming from idolatry, so it's a problem. If it's coming from an honor, it's not a problem. Now, if you are supposed to do this because something with the family, I'm not asking you to start to have the fight with the family. But always remember when you bow to do this not as an idolatry, but again, it's something that is related with your culture. I don't know. I would like to know. Let me know. But okay.
I have a question.
Yes. Yes, Nusu, good to see you. Yes.
Hello. What is the difference of meaning between the God creating man in Tselem Elohim and God of blowing to his nostril a spirit of what is the difference between them?
I will say to you very simple. It will be very simple what I'm going to say. Do you have the possibility of stopping your heart from beeping all the time?
Peeping?
Your heart is, doing beep, 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 all right? It's all the time
Yes,
working, the pump.
yes.
Do you have the possibility of stopping it?
No,
Do you have the possibility of stopping breathing?
no,
Do you have the possibility of when you eat something that it won't go in after you swallowing it and it's going after your stomach to take
yes.
it outside, or it's working, functioning in the laws of nature, your body?
It's not in control.
Fair enough. So there is part of us that is not in control, just like all the rest of the nature. And there is part of us that is 100% our control, the freedom of will. Okay? The part that
Yes.
is without any control is what God did from the dust, from the earth, not from the dust, so from the earth. This is a part that is with the laws of nature.
Okay.
Go to the hospital, you will see how much it's functioning there in this way. Okay?
Yes.
The other side, freedom of choice, is what God gave to us from Him. He have also freedom of choice.
Yes.
We're not getting it from the chips. We're not getting it from the fish. We're not getting it from anything else that we eat. Okay? And this is why we are so complicated, because we are the only part in this world that is containing two different identities inside one human being. Okay? The potato, and also the cat, and also the mouse, and also the lion, and also everything that we know in this world is not complicated. Okay? He's going from outside, from his mother's womb, and after 3, 4, 5 hours, walking, and everything is fine. We are the only part that is complicated because we are from two kinds. Okay? It was clear?
So the image of God and God's blowing into his nostril spirit is the same meaning. We have image of God and the God blows something in our nostril.
Yeah, it's don't take it in the way of exactly this is how it happened. We need to speak about how exactly it happened and everything else. What is the meaning of those words and how exactly it's I will say why it was taken those words to express this idea and the exact ideas. But basically, yes, this is the meaning. The meaning is that the human being is being built up from two different totally identities. Okay, one is very restricted under the laws of nature, and the other one is with a lot of freedom under the relation with God. And we here in this world, we are living together, those two parts. And this is why we have so much complications inside us. And the human being is a very complicated human, I will say machine, the most complicated machine that we have.
Thank you.
Fair enough. Next week, I know already what I'm going to teach. It's very clear for me. I will send you later on. I will send Hannah. I will send also Joshua the record of this lesson and also a summary of this lesson. And I will try also to put it on the internet because I think it's a very fundamental lesson. And it's something that we never really opened it so much, right, Bart?
Yes, I understand that.
Fair enough. Excellent. Have a great time and help this small infinite baby of the United States, 250 years, nothing. Help them to start to take out the butter from the wipe off the milk from the. Fair enough. Bye, everybody. Have a great week. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.